This is a video essay which explores the representation of women in Turkish cinema. To explain women's representation, I will look at the woman's legal and cultural rights and how it is reflected in Turkish film. First, we will look at the history of women's rights in Turkey. There were 4 waves of feminism in total. The first wave of feminism was in the 1920s after Turkey is established as a state. After this wave, women gained equal rights in the constitution. In the 1980s was the second wave, after the military coup. Women became active protesters because many male activists were sent to prison, and in 1987 was the first big feminist demonstration in Turkey. It was against the judge's order not to grant divorce based off of domestic abuse. The third wave of feminism was in the 1990s, when Turkish feminism split into the Islamic, Kurdish, and secular waves. The final wave of feminism in Turkey was from the 2000s to the present, and this is when the rise of Project Feminist or feminists interested in the government came about. And how are these waves reflected in cinema today? First, we will look at the political rights in Turkey. Under Article 10 of the Turkish Constitution, women have equal rights. It states that men and women have equal rights. The state has the obligation to ensure this equality exists in practice. Measures taken for this purpose shall not be interpreted as contrary to the principle of equality. So legally, women do have rights. But culturally, the views differ a little. Traditional viewpoints put women to a disadvantage. They paint them as housewives, caretakers, and lesser to men. To further this are a few statistics. States women are paid less than men because it is thought that women are dependent on men. 48% of Turkish women feel that they have control over their lives. Second behind India with the largest gender divide in the world. And 43% of Turkish respondents say that men should have more rights to jobs than women in times of need. And not only do statistics show a cultural bias against women, but the government figures of Turkey share that sentiment. Quoted from a 2014 interview with Turkish President Recep Erdogan, he states, "When we are able to look at human beings from the point of view of justice, then elimination of discrimination between men and women would be possible in much more fair, humane, and conscientious way. What do women need?" In popular Turkish cinema, the feminism waves are not reflected, but the cultural and traditional values of women are. First, we will talk about Dünya Kurtaran Adam, the man who saved the world. In The Man Who Saved the World, there are 2 main women, a woman who does not talk, and the king's wife. The woman who does not talk and the king's wife both service the interests of their male counterparts, proving their lesserness. The woman who doesn't talk services the main character by being his love interest. She also helps the main character defeat the bad guy. The king's wife services the king by distracting the sidekick. She also services the sidekick by offering him sexual favors. Since there are only 2 female characters in Dünya Kurtaran Adam whose need is to only service their male counterpart, it is shown that women are seen as lesser in this film. Next, we will look at Dry Summer. In Dry Summer, there is one main female character, Bahar. But Bahar's portrayal is very traditional because it sticks to gender roles. Bahar is portrayed as a housewife, servant to her husband, and she sticks to tradition by respecting Hashan's wishes. And like the king's wife, Bahar's character is overly sexualized and objectified by the camera. Since Bahar has no agency over her life, she sticks to traditions and she is objectified. She is also seen as lesser than her male counterparts in this film. The last film I will be looking at is Recep İvedik. In Recep İvedik, he puts women below men. This is seen when Recep finds the girls broken down at the beginning of the film, and he talks down to them and calls them stupid. Throughout the film, when Recep talks to the housekeepers and comments on their weight and their appearance. Recep also comments on the weight and appearance of his love interest's mother and his love interest. In this film, it is obvious that Recep is supposed to be above women, as he constantly downgrades them, and it's supposed to be laughed at. Overall, women have political equality to men, but are still struggling culturally. This is shown in the 3 films mentioned, The Man Who Saved the World, Dry Summer, and Recep İvedik.